Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Pastor Jay North, and over the last few weeks, we've been talking about the disobedience of the children of Israel, and primarily the southern kingdom of Judah, and they've been taken captive in Babylon. And now we're getting into Daniel, because Daniel is the book about what happens while they are in Babylon. This week's lesson is all about obedience. And my man Vaughan Mountain, Mr. Vaughan Mountain, the animal man himself, is going to share with us a little bit of what it means to be obedient. Hey Vaughan, take it away.
Hey everyone, happy Sabbath. This week's lesson is about obedience is good. Obedience, strange word, obey, obedience. But it means so much to everybody throughout the world. I mean, we obey our parents, we obey the law, we obey the government, we obey God, we obey. There are cultures where it thrives on obedience to your elders. It doesn't matter what you want to do in life, there's a tradition you follow and you must obey your elders and they make choices for you. Some have to obey the choices that their parents made for them for who to marry. Obedience. Now, we're dealing with obedience when it comes from God. What do? We have to obey God's word. Why do we have to obey God's word? Because it is good. Now, there's a story about Daniel and his three friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Well, Daniel, when they first were taken from Israel, they were actually taken from royal families. So they were pre-chosen. They were chosen to be in the King Nebuchadnezzar's court. So anybody with royal heritage was put into Nebuchadnezzar's court so that they can perform some higher duties and control the Israelites for Nebuchadnezzar. Now, when put in that court, they were also given food to eat. Certain types of food that the king thought was good. It was rich in meats and sweet things, and it was just decadent, just full of richness. Now, there's a person who oversees all this, the official. There's a guy who oversees all this, and he kind of liked Daniel and his group, and he told them, he said, well, here are some foods, eat these things, and the king will be happy. Daniel was not feeling that because God had impressed upon him already that this food is going to make your mind cloudy, you won't think straight, it's not good for you. Here's a diet I want you to obey and eat. And Daniel and his three friends, knowing what they knew and being dedicated to God, they chose to obey God's rule and told the official, sorry, we can't eat that food. Now that official was freaked out, and he was like, what do you mean I can't eat that food? And you're gonna get me killed. Well, Daniel said, look, we're gonna save all of that nonsense. What we're gonna do right now, you go ahead and take 10 days, compare us to those that eat this food, and you'll be happy. You'll be happy with us, and you won't get your head chopped off or anything like that. The king will be happy. As a matter of fact, he might just say, hey, look, let everybody eat. At the end of 10 days, the official came back and was like, wow, hey, maybe we should feed everybody this food. I mean, it was that much of a difference. So obeying God's word helped Daniel and his three friends find favor in the official and in King Nebuchadnezzar, who they later went on to form a great relationship. But it was through the obedience of God that helped them with that. Now, obedience, I mean, we can obey our parents, we can obey the law, we can obey everything, but there's a different obedience to God. See, sometimes we obey our parents out of fear that we'll get punished. We obey the law because we know that if we disobey the law, there are ramifications. You can go to jail, you can get a ticket, you can get fined. But it's a different type of obedience with God. We obey God out of love. So you start to love God first, and the obedience comes. Obey Him, love Him, and when you put those two together, you can have a great time with God in your life. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy your blessed day.
Wow, Vaughan, that was what's up, man. I love how you illustrated how we are to be obedient and how obedience works. And I just want to encourage each one of you. Listen, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes we think we know what's best for us. But the reality is, y'all, and I'm telling you from experience, that what God outlines in his word, listen, it really works. If we're honest, if we're faithful, if we have integrity, and we're obedient to the things that we've been taught from God's word, listen, God will take care of us. And we learned that the Hebrew boys were 10 times better than everybody else. Why? Because they obeyed God and they did what God expected them to do. Now, I don't think that just happens overnight. I think that they were trained as younger people from when they were little to all the way till they were teenagers now. They had been following the principles of God's law and understanding what it meant to eat good, eat clean food and not eat unclean food. And I believe that they began to understand what it meant to eat clean food versus eating unclean food. And you know what? We can learn a lesson even today. There's some stuff out there, y'all, we ain't got no business really eating. And it's really not doing us any good. But we probably all could make better health choices. So I just want to, again, encourage you guys to remain obedient to God's word. All right?